What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Second Street Marvel. I'm your host, Trinity. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. And, thank you all for, to all of you guys who show up every day to sit here and see me and watch me flap my gums about, I don't know, maybe a whole bunch of nonsense. Maybe a whole bunch of nonsense. But anyway, it's Monday. Monday, October 21st, 2019. Man, this year, I'm telling you, this year's flying by. It seems like October just started. Seems like October just started, and here we are already, getting ready to go into November in 10 days. Can you believe it? Like Halloween's almost here. Oh, anyway, I hope you all had a very good weekend. I know it's been absolutely busy for me. Just crazy bonkers with everything going on just from movies, being a content creator here. Um, Being a content creator here on YouTube, my family, my business, just everything involved, man. It's been really busy, but it's starting to get better. It's starting to get better. It's starting to get easier. Getting into the flow of things. You know what I mean? Certainly, something that's can be hard, especially like I said. I've been doing this for about a year. My year anniversary here on the channel is going to be coming up on November 29th, and I'm going to be doing a live stream then. Probably going to see if I can get some guests to come on. Conveniently, it falls on a Friday, so it's on a day when I normally do the Trailer Park Live, so I think that's going to be something very, very interesting. Collie Holland says hi. Well, thank you so much for being here, Collie. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you had a great weekend as well. I know I certainly did. Like I said, I had a very, very busy weekend. In a week last week, and then a weekend this week. My friends had his daughter had a birthday, so went out on Saturday and went to a little birthday party for my friend's daughter. Took my kids and everything. Rode my bike there, and of course I got a flat tire. Figures. I finally got my flat tire fixed on my fixie bike, not this bike right here that you see in the background, but my fixed geared bike. And of course, I take it out on its maiden voyage, and I end up popping a couple tires, and then I end up I fix those. I get home, I fix those. And then on the first ride again, I lose another tire. In case you guys don't know, bicycling is expensive. It's an expensive habit. Don't get into it. It's good for your health, so you probably won't anyway, right? Because that's not the cool thing to do. Is to do things to get into things for your health. But definitely cycling is one of them, and it can be expensive. Like I said, these tubes that I'm putting inside my bike, whether it's this bike or any of my bikes, the tubes, these things cost like $12, man. Yeah, yeah, they're expensive. I'm telling you. And the tires, you don't even want to get me started on the tires. Like the tires that I put on this bicycle that you can see right here, them tires are like 50, they can be about $55 a piece, sometimes 65. It just depends on what tires you get. And that's about the price of the tires that we put on my wife's car a piece. You know what I mean? So don't let anybody tell you that cycling is cheap, but it's good for your health. So that's what's important. And so yeah, I'm not sure. Collie Holland says, "Congrats on hitting 600." Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Now, I actually just did my 500 subscriber giveaway yesterday. I did a live stream talking about some of the comic books that are going to be coming out this week. Kind of did little comic previews, and then I went ahead and released the names of the people who were the winners of that 500 subscriber giveaway. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat who those winners were. That was Tara Zahn, Kermit the Log, and Dylan's Comic Book Rants all won a prize. But you know what? There was a fourth winner. It was actually the first winner. That person I forgot to announce was Lord Callus. So I actually need all four of you. That's Lord Callus, Terrazon, Kermit the Log, and Dylan's Comic Book Rants to get a hold of me to claim your prizes for that 500 subscriber giveaway. And I will be doing a giveaway as well on my 1 year anniversary here on the channel coming up November 29th. And again, thank you guys so much for being subscribed and, like I said, coming here and watching me flap my gums. Sometimes I wonder why people do it, but apparently I'm decent at doing this thing here that I do here on YouTube. And again, I do greatly appreciate it, guys. And I'll tell you, there's nobody better. There's nobody better to follow out there. Nobody better to come subscribe to than me, right? Nah, not really. There's plenty of good people, but like I've talked about this before, guys. I don't know. I'm pretty humble about stuff. I'm not a bragger. I don't do anything like that. I don't even have a huge ego when it comes to things. I've just never been that person. Even when I'm good at something, even when I know I'm good at something, anything like that. I always choose to remain humble because like I don't get anything about by not being humble, by bragging or anything like that. Does anybody really? I mean, sure. I mean, it's okay to look at myself in the mirror, and even to you guys here on say and be like, man, that guy you watch right now. That's one handsome dude, man. Right? That's one handsome dude. That's one thing. But you see so many of these people out here that get these big heads and just get so full of themselves. They develop these egos and just different things like that. And that's not me, guys. It doesn't matter, I've talked about this before. My channel, no matter how big it gets, if I get a million subscribers, I'm not gonna be that guy out there. You're not gonna see me change. You know what I mean? You're not gonna see me all of a sudden think that I'm better than anybody and start calling out, small channels or saying like, oh, comparing myself to this person or to that person. That's just not who I am. Let alone the fact that even if I did somehow, by some sort of miracle, get to a million subscribers, I would still never do YouTube full time, even though I've been putting a lot of time into it. I've been putting a lot of time into it. It's still not anything that I could do full time because you know what? Like what I do for my job, I'm self employed. I love what I do. You know what I mean? I love what I do. I get to get out to my local community and see and interact with people in my local community, talk with them, and it's just really great. It's just really great what I do. Wookie Lives Matter, thank you so much for being here. I do greatly appreciate that. Wookie Lives Matter says, morning, Trent. Well, good morning to you, sir. I hope you're doing good today. Um, so today, yeah, like I said, it's been a very just busy weekend. I got caught up. I got some videos shot. I still got some more. I've got shot that I've got to get edited and get out there for you all. I did a review of Chastity issue number 1 and 2, which is a book that is being written by Lee Williams. In case you guys haven't seen here on the channel, I don't pick on Lee Williams, but she's kind of an author out there in the comic book world that I've come across a couple of her books and not really too particular on her writing. I'm not really into her style, but so I went ahead and picked up this book, issue number 2 of Chastity, and went ahead and shot a review on it because you know what, like Lee Williams actually wrote a book, that I thought was okay. That I thought was actually okay. It wasn't issue number 1 of Chastity, but it was issue number 2. I thought was actually pretty decent. Walker says, "What up? What's up, Walker? How you doing? Is that Walker Walker? Is that Walker Walker watching? What's up, man? Oh, Doyle rules. Yeah, man. What is that? Tommy? No, not Tommy Boy. Yeah. It's from Tommy Boy. No, not what am I talking about? Tommy Boy. That's not even the Adam Sandler flick. Billy Madison. Yeah, man. Doyle rules. Great stuff. So, yeah, I was, you know, something kind of came up over this weekend that I found, and I was kind of interested in was you guys know last week I went to see had a busy week watching movies. I went and seen Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which was a great movie. 507. Yep. All right, that's the Walker. I believe it is. Yeah, so I got to go out and see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in a double feature with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Excellent movie. But I will tell you that Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is not for everybody. If you're not into the Kevin Smith films and everything, if you're not invested in it, there's a whole lot of things that you might not like in it. Plus, the payoff isn't really there for you if you're not invested in the series anyway. It was just a fun movie. I won't say it was funny, like with comedy or anything. There was some funny stuff in it, but it was just a fun movie. It was just a fun movie made for fans, really. I mean, it was like an hour and a half long fan service is really essentially what it was, and that's not a bad thing. That's certainly not a bad thing. But again, this movie isn't for everybody. Then on Tuesday, I actually got to, before that on Tuesday, I got to go down to Hollywood. I got to meet the Soska sisters and watch their new movie, Rabid. And that's kind of what made me decide about this, about today's topic. Okay, today's topic that I want to talk about, and it's something I haven't even really looked a whole lot into. Let's see, where did this all come from? Let's go ahead and find this article here on Variety. Walker says yes. Okay, I figured so. I mean, there's nobody else out there who calls themselves Walker but Walker. You know what I'm saying? There's only one Walker, in case you guys don't know. Kali Holland says, "Have you ever tried some of that liquid stuff in your tires, or does it weigh the bike down too much?" I stopped my pit bike from getting flat tires. Yeah, I've tried like the liquid stuff. I only use in my mountain bike for my mountain bike tires, and that's mostly because on my mountain bike I have what they call tubeless tires. So it's basically you just have you have the tire on there, and there's no tube inside of it. They got the special nipple that they put on there, the special valve stem, and you put the liquid in there. So then anytime you're out mountain bike riding, you get something in your tire, you just air it up, let it spin. You might have to put a little bit more air in it, and that compound gets in there and stuffs the tires. Now with my road bikes, I won't do that. Like on my fixed gear bike, I would do something like that because it's not a bike where weight matters. You know what I mean? On my fixed gear bikes, I mean, one of them is chromoly steel, for Christ's sakes. Like it's like when I get up and ride on it, and I'm sitting there trying to put a whole lot of power on it, like to ride fast. Like I can almost feel the steel and the chromoly steel flexing and everything. The aluminum one, not so much. But when it comes to those bikes, you're not worried about weight. Whereas with my bike right here, this carbon fiber bike. This is a straight up road race bike. This bike right here that you see right here. This is the kind of bike, and this is like one of the models that the professionals ride in the Tour de France, and you see all the professional riders riding. I wouldn't put any of that stuff in this type of tire, although I believe people do because they have tubeless tires for road bikes as well, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the tires that I have, the wheels set that I have for my road bike, aren't the kind that it's not set up for having tubeless tires. But yeah, it's definitely something convenient. Walker says reboot is a must see if you're a fan of KS for sure. Can't wait to see it. Yeah, reboot was a good one. Definitely if you're fans of Kevin Smith. He says your lighting is perfect. Great video. It could be better. It could be better. I don't know. But again, I'm shooting here on my computer. But yeah, so what happened here over these past few days? And I wonder if I should pull this up here for you guys to see. It's not important. But apparently, Francis Ford Coppola has come out and made some comments disparaging the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. In case we don't all know, over the past couple weeks, Martin Scorsese has been pretty outspoken about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how he don't think that they're cinema and that theaters should stop playing these movies and all these kinds of things. And I kind of talked a little bit about this on Friday, and then again on the Trailer Park Live on Friday evening, about just people's different feelings when it comes to this. Okay, now we know there's a whole bunch of weirdos out there who are MCU fanboys, and the MCU can do absolutely no wrong. Now, you guys know me here on the channel. I am a huge fanboy of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's undeniable. I cannot deny that, and I won't deny that. I mean, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is what got me back into reading comic books. Since I was like in the early '90s when I stopped reading them. It was a good 25-year hiatus that I took off from not reading comic books. Easily, probably more than that. But I don't love it so much to think that they can't do any wrong. I don't love it so much to think that these films are the best films that there are. I don't love it so much that when a great filmmaker like Martin Scorsese comes out and says that these aren't real cinema, that theaters need to stop showing these movies, I'm not upset by that, okay? Martin Scorsese is completely entitled to his opinions. I have no problem with that. It's really not much of a factor for me at all. Because for one, he is a great filmmaker. That's undeniable. But what you've seen here, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook, or anything like that, I don't get on Facebook much anymore. But I can tell you, there are people out there who are slamming Martin Scorsese and his films, saying they're boring, saying he's not a great filmmaker, and all these kinds of things. And if you see or are friends with these kind of people, you should just tell them just to be quiet. Just shut up, okay? You can't go criticize a Martin Scorsese and say that he's not a great filmmaker and say that he's not good, his films are boring or anything like that. Now, his films might not be for you and they might be boring for you. That's fine. But going out and these people coming out and saying that Martin Scorsese just don't know what he's talking about, he's just jealous of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and he's a bad filmmaker. These people have no clue what they're talking about, okay? They don't. Martin Scorsese is a fantastic filmmaker. He's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Not even just my generation or our generation, however you want to put that. He's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. So he certainly has his place to, has his, he's certainly able to share his opinions on that, and that's perfectly fine. You don't have to agree with him, but don't let anybody go out there and say that he's not a great filmmaker, because he is. Well, recently it seems that Francis Ford Coppola has come out and just kind of joined Martin Scorsese in saying that these films aren't any good. Now, I didn't read a single one of these articles that Francis Ford Coppola, or what he's come out and said, but obviously he's coming out and taking the same stance as Martin Scorsese, and we know, I mean, guys, Francis Ford Coppola is a great director as well. So if there's, I'm sure we're probably going to see some of these MCU stands out there and everything, talking about how how Francis Ford Coppola isn't a great director and all this kind of stuff. We're going to see those same things out here. All these MCU stands, all these freaking weirdos out there, we're going to take the side of Marvel and Disney and all that stuff and go against these directors who just don't like these films. Like I said, they're entitled to their opinions. These are great filmmakers. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them having their opinions and showing their scrutiny of them. Now, the one thing I will say that even the channel I watch, John Campia's show, even the one thing that John Campia said on his show was, especially in the case of Martin Scorsese, is he said that he doesn't even watch all these films. Now, I'll tell you, that being said, I gotta say, I'll agree with most people in like Scorsese, Martin, bro. At least go watch him if you're gonna scrutinize him and talk trash about him. At least go watch him. That's the least you can do. That's like my mother saying, or even my wife saying, like, my mother says she don't like Quentin Tarantino films, yet I don't think she's ever watched one. Maybe she did with Hateful Eight. I think she finally watched Hateful Eight and actually enjoyed that. But my mom, like when Pulp Fiction came out and some of these movies came out, she said she just doesn't like Quentin Tarantino. It's like, well, how do you know? You've never watched his movies. So how do you know you don't like Quentin Tarantino? Oh, just from what I seen. Well, from what you've seen, but you haven't seen him. You got to watch something to be able to scrutinize it and have a legitimate complaint. Like my wife, she says she don't like The Matrix. She's never seen The Matrix. She's never watched a full Matrix movie, and that's just because it didn't interest her. But you can't say that the movie's bad or that the directors are bad without having seen it. It's just something she don't enjoy. She doesn't watch it, and that's it. Okay? You can't really I can't really take her opinion seriously when she says that they're no good or anything like that. Now, if she says that they're boring, I can take that because they bored her and she didn't like them and she didn't want to continue watching them. All fair. But you can't come out and scrutinize the Wachowskis and say that these films suck and everything if you haven't watched them. That's just the stance I take. That's just something that I highly believe. J-Day, welcome to the live stream. J-Day says, hello. Lonely Banter says, I am here. Thank you so much for being here, Lonely Banter. Darth Wacko says, Martin Scorsese is brilliant. Fatal J, what's up, man? How you doing this morning? Thank you so much for being here. Darth Wacko was saying what's up to everybody. So yeah, these guys are obviously brilliant filmmakers. Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, but they're gonna come under fire from all these MCU stands out there, and that's perfectly understandable for some of the statements they've made. But I'm telling you, these MCU stands are a bunch of weirdos. Okay, like I said, just you should discount them maybe a little more than you do Francis Ford Coppola or Martin Scorsese, okay? But what's interesting to me here was this story came across my Twitter feed. Like I said, I went and seen the Soska sisters. I'm huge fans of the Soska sisters and what they've done. But they shared this this tweet just earlier, just a couple days ago. Talking about this Francis Ford Coppola thing, and oh man, this dang thing skipped on me. But what they were talking about was this Francis Ford Coppola, about him. They're like, oh, weird. Francis Ford Coppola is in the news for for this. Maybe it's because him backing this pedophile and his movies back in the day. Oh no, it's because he scrutinized Marvel. That's the big deal, right? That's the big deal. Is Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese scrutinizing these Marvel movies, these superhero movies. How dare they? How dare they scrutinize these movies about these comic book characters that everybody loves so much? That's just so bad, right? So terrible. We can't forgive these people. They're terrible. No, that's not but what their the article that they shared was from the Daily Beast, and it was an article about Francis Ford Coppola and something that he's done in his past, and that was promoting a known pedophile and his movies. Now I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of this guy before, but let me see if I can once again pull up this guy's name. Was this Victor Salva? Victor Salva. Yes, I believe that was this director's name was Victor Salva. Okay, this guy is a convicted pedophile. This guy's a convicted pedophile, and he got convicted back in the 80s. He was making some of his first films that he ever did. He actually took and groomed this family and this kid. His name was Nathan Winters. He was a 12-year-old boy at the time. Groomed his family and everything, and was shooting this movie with him, and his house got raided. This director's house got raided back in the day, and they found child pornography there, and some of that child pornography actually included him having doing how would you say, having oral sex with this 12-year-old kid, giving him oral sex. Now this is absolutely wrong, guys. And this is the director of Jeepers Creepers, and Francis Ford Coppola has been pretty, been like an executive producer, and has helped him produce some of these films, and is backing him up and things like that. And that's kind of what they were pointing out in this article that the Saska sisters shared. In case you guys don't know, I'm telling you, I love the Saska sisters. Okay, I'll tell you that. And it's not just for all the work that they do. It's not for just their movies. It's not just for the mere fact that they happen to write probably my favorite comic book of all time in the Black Widow series, No Restraints Play. It's because what they're writing about in this story. Okay, this story was about Natasha Romanoff and how she went to Madripoor to stop a bunch of human traffickers, child molesters, bad people, and bring and seek out justice for these people. Okay, and they're very outspoken in the media world. You can follow their Twitter, their Instagram, anything like that. You can go find the Saska sisters, the Twisted Twins, and find that they have voices out there, and they use it to bring attention to these kinds of things. They're and they're outspoken on a lot of things. They do blood drives every single year. They're horror directors, and sometimes they use their films and things to help promote stuff like this, where they go and they do this blood drive every year to get people to donate blood. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. But they also put a lot. They're also pretty outspoken. They help out people in the LGBT community. There's nothing wrong with that. But they are obviously very against all these pedophiles, all these people using their positions of power to take advantage of people, like the Harvey Weinsteins in the world, the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world. They are very outspoken against this stuff. Okay, and that's one of the reasons that I love these two brilliant ladies. Not only are they talented, they've somehow managed to make their own way into Hollywood, but they're also using every little bit of their platform to help put a stop to these things, because there's some sickos out there in this world. And I fully back that up 100%. And that was the thing that came up in this article that they had shared from the Daily Beast, in which we find out that this filmmaker, Victor Salva, he's a convicted child molester. He spent times in prison, and he goes out there, in this article, he's quoted as saying, like, oh, he lived through some of the most horrific things and stuff like this and that. Well, obviously, like, justice hasn't been served. These people, there's no justice that can be served to these kind of people. You know what I mean? Because they've already perpetrated and created their victims, and there is no amount of justice, not even death itself, that can. And I'm not here to get political. This isn't even politics. There's no amount of justice that can be done for the victims of these kinds of people. And that one of these people is Victor Salvo, one of these perpetrators who is doing this, using his position of power against this kid Nathan Winters, who was a star of one of his films. And what's great is, here's the good thing when it comes to victims. Like I said in the title of this video, is forgiveness is divine, but is it? Is it really? This kid who had been molested by this director who had used his position of power to do these things. Actually went out there when they were casting for another one of their films, which was, I'm not sure if this was Jeepers Creepers 3. I'm kind of disgusted reading the article. Put out this thing for they're looking for talent that is 18, was it 18 years or 18 years or younger or whatnot, looking for to get more people on set, and they had people there. On set as they were shooting some of these films, like keeping an eye on this guy, to make sure that nothing happened. And this guy's actually been backed by even the Walt Disney Company, right? Yeah, Disney, right? Because Disney does background checks on their people. They care, right? You can't say nothing wrong on social media. You got to be a good boy. Like old James Gunn went out there and made some jokes on Twitter, and all of a sudden he lost his job. This guy right here is a convicted pedophile. And it still had interactions that's still been backed up by Walt Disney Studios. Man, that's good job there, guys. Right. Um, I just, that's just wrong. And what? Here's the forgiveness is divine part is, at one point they were out there protesting this film. Nathan Winters and his family, and they had other people out there, and they had these flyers printed up that said writer, director, producer, child molester. And even in an interview, this kid said that, like, look, like, we're not trying to put a stop to this guy. He wants to be a director, make films. All good. We're not trying to stop that. We're just trying to bring awareness to the fact of the things that he done. This guy is a convicted child molester, and that's some big things coming from one of the victims. Like, they're like, hey, no, like, and that's something I've kind of agreed on throughout this whole thing. We this culture that's going on out there, this cancel culture, in which people who are seemingly innocent, who aren't bad people, are being canceled out there in the world of social media, and just getting fired from their jobs and all these things for minor stuff, for having an opinion. For maybe for being prejudiced, or maybe having prejudices against certain people or anything like that. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihoods. Some of them committing suicide because of some of the things that have happened to them. Just things like that. And we've got convicted pedophiles out there making movies. Harvey Weinstein is still canceled. Kevin Spacey is still canceled. Why can't we seek justice for people like this Victor Salva? And like I said, we've got one of the victims out there saying, like, no, I'm not worried about that. Like, basically saying people need to live, and I agree with that. People still need to be able to live. But then this director is still being backed up by a big company by Disney Studios and things like that. And I'm not for sure. It doesn't really deep dive into that, whether they're still backing him up in his films or anything like that. But they had in the past. You know what I mean? It's nothing they've ever come out and spoken out against, apparently. But I mean, that's just not good. It's not good. It's not good for anybody, and it's just a problem within the industry, and that's why one of the reasons why I respect the Soska sisters so much in what they do, and at the same time, that might be a reason why they don't why in if and when they don't ever get get to do a big budget movie from any of the big studios out there, because a lot of these studios are kind of in on it. Maybe they're not necessarily doing it themselves, but they're not standing against it the same way the Soska sisters are, and letting it be known, letting it be heard, what's going on behind the scenes, the stuff that you don't know about. Because these sickos are out there, and that's, once again, another reason why I back up 100% everything that they're doing. Because of the stance that they're taking, and they're against these things. It's something, I don't know. I've got a wife and kids. You know what I mean? And I'm staunchly against this stuff. The molesters, the pedophiles, and everything out there. This human trafficking and everything. Ashton Kutcher. He's another one of those dudes out there that his career has suffered from being outspoken against this stuff too. Hollywood don't want that, and that's one of the things that was said in this article. Maybe Hollywood don't care. Hollywood don't care. Hollywood is a place where you can be one of these weirdos who's out there perpetrating crimes against humanity, essentially, and that's okay. And I got to tell you guys, for me, that's not okay. Now, I can tell you, one of the things, like Kevin Spacey, he's one of my favorite actors ever. One of my favorite actors ever. Kevin Spacey is a highly talented actor. Go out there and watch any of his movies. The dude is freaking phenomenal. But then, he went out there several months ago and made this video, kind of like with his character from House of Cards or whatnot, this really creepy video. And it's like, Like, dude, just give up, bro. Like, just give up. Like, and I can still go back and watch it. It was funny because John Campy even talked about this a while back. Like, I can still go back and watch and enjoy any Kevin Spacey movie. That's all fine and dandy. But for me to go out there and watch, if he's doing new material, I just can't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bring myself to watch a new TV show or movie or something directed or anything like that by Kevin Spacey. Like, at that point, I feel like I'm actually supporting the guy, and like the past is the past already. I'm not gonna go burn my old DVDs or announce that Swimming with Sharks is a movie that sucks just because dude's a molester. I can just say it's just a shame. It's just a damn shame what happened. You know what I mean? With this guy, and that's part of the thing, like everybody has a thing, man. Everybody's weird in some way or another, but like some of these weirdos out there, bro, like this is not good. And these are the kinds of things, like, if one of these people, like some of these MCU stands, they wouldn't care, if Kevin Spacey was in the MCU and he done, he was playing one of these prominent characters or something, and then all these charges come out about him, all these MCU stands are going to come out there and probably attack you because that's just how they are. You know what I mean? Like we can see, they're out there calling Scorsese and saying Scorsese's a terrible filmmaker just because he has an opinion about some movies. You know what I mean? That's just, I don't know. That's just kind of the world we live in, man. But forgiveness is divine, but is it? Is it? Even by the people, the people, and the most forgiving people are the victims themselves in most cases. The victims themselves are the ones who are the most forgiving when it comes to these kinds of things. And you know what? If there's anybody that can be giving this forgiveness out, it's certainly the victims. But one of the things is too, if when you're a victim to any of these kinds of crimes, that doesn't mean that you have to be a victim. You don't have to live life like a victim. And that's something else that we see far too much of in this world. Something bad happens to somebody and that becomes their thing, like, what it does. Like most victims, or not most, but a lot of victims carry that on and that just becomes their thing. Where them forgiving somebody is all good. And I highly applaud that because you know what? I've been victimized and you know what? I haven't forgiven my perpetrators. I haven't. And I won't. It's just how I feel about it. That's fine and dandy that somebody else can do it, but I can't. That's just something I can't do. Anyway, let's go ahead and and okay. Before I get into anything else, there was something else too. When I met the Soska sisters, I had mentioned to them because I got them to sign some of my Black Widow comic books, my single issues, the floppies. I got them to sign some of those. I got them to sign, I think, 3 of them: issue number 1, issue number 2, and then issue number 4. Absolutely cool that I got to meet them. But one of the things I was saying was, I was excited to meet them and talking to them, and it was crazy because they actually knew who I was, just through the channel and my Twitter, and I've been following them and Instagram and everything like that. But one of the things when I was sitting there talking to them, I was like, yeah, I was like, it's a damn shame that you guys aren't the ones making the Black Widow movie. And Jen was like, oh yeah, they ain't gonna make that movie. You know what I mean? Let alone she was like, one of these days maybe they'll come crawling to us to come help and save them too. And I was like, yes, I mean, rightfully so, because this Black Widow story, this isn't one that Disney wants to tell. It's not one that they can tell in the first place. I mean, probably because they've probably got something to hide. Let alone this is probably a little too graphic for something that Disney wants to put out anyway. But I believe they were saying something about a movie that they have in the works that is something very similar to this story that we got in the Black Widow series, and I can't wait to read it. But yeah, I mean, just I don't know. It was just a good time, and like I said, these sisters, one of these days, the Saska sisters need to be given a good big budget to make just one of these big budget movies out there, and I think one of these days they probably will. They possibly will. That's we know that Disney and certainly Marvel Studios has been actually pretty good about getting smaller, more independent directors out there to come in and direct their films. Almost every single person that's come in and done their Marvel movies are people who aren't directors who are used to having big budgets coming in there to shoot these movies. Then you give them these big budgets, and we can see what they've done with it. Look at what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. He had a history. He has a history being a director, but nothing with like really big budgets. Take a look at Taika Waititi. You know, he was more of an indie director before before he got Thor Ragnarok. You could take a look at many of them. Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, who was supposed to do the first Ant-Man movie, who they still use his script and a lot of his ideas. And then even Peyton Reed. Most of these guys weren't big directors before they got into this whole Marvel scene anyway. And I certainly think that it would be great one of these days to see the Saska sisters get a little bit of recognition in that kind of court, and get to see them come in and do something. Like I said, I went and watched the movie Rabbit, and you can see there were things in that movie that obviously come down to budget, and they didn't have like a huge budget to make this movie, but every single thing that they did in the movie was really great. It was really phenomenal. Fatal J says first Matrix is bad, but your wife is first Matrix is bad, but your wife is smart. The second and third one is bad. I mean that's cool. That's your opinion. I like the second and third one as well. For me, it's because there's just a whole lot of things that go on into it. For one, it's cyberpunk, which I've come to terms with the fact that I really love cyberpunk and just that whole world, those futuristic dystopian type futures that we mostly get in cyberpunk, but also within those movies is interlaced so much different philosophy and things like that. And that's one of the things that really kind of got me, along with the great action that was in them. Now, I'll tell you, the one thing that in the Matrix Reloaded, like the cheesiest thing to me in there was those when they get down into Zion and they have their little party and it's like the Flintstones and everything. That Okay, guys, that was going a little too far for me. But again, it was again I get its point and its purpose in the movie as well. But was that a little silly? Yeah, that was probably going a little bit out there. And I think, was it in the second one also, like the ghost guys, the ghost characters, they didn't really do a whole lot of explaining for them, but I thought they were a little bit on the side of cheesy. They were a little bit on the side of cheesy, but I like the second one and even the third one. The third one more for cinematics, just some of the things that go on in that. By the time I seen Matrix Revolutions, I knew that we've got to get a good Dragon Ball Z movie one of these days. One of these days, we have to get a great Dragon Ball Z movie, and it still hasn't happened yet. We still haven't got a great Dragon Ball Z movie. Matter of fact, we haven't even got a Dragon Ball Z movie yet anyway. All we got was that Dragon Ball Evolution stuff that, while it was a terrible film, I watched it at the time and thought, it's alright. It's okay. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. But there's certainly a whole lot of things in it that could be improved. It was just a cheesy early 2000s kind of thing, I guess you could say. It certainly had a lot of downcomings, but yeah, I like the first Matrix. Yeah, I mean, the first Matrix movie was groundbreaking. I mean, there's movies today still being made, taking hooks from that movie. I mean, that's how big of an impact that one had. Collie Holland says, I remember back in the day when CGI got a movie an automatic 10% lower review score. Um, Oh, okay. Like when I see what you're saying. Like when people would use like CGI in a movie, and all of a sudden, like the critics are like, "Oh, nope, just yeah," and that's I understand that. That's ridiculous. Now I will say that there is something to be said for films that use practical effects. Look at a Sam Raimi film. You can go back and watch like Sam Raimi film where they use a lot of practical effects and things like that, and like real props and stuff. That's why you go and watch the Spider-Man movie. The Spider-Man movies he did, wow, they were so great because they used CGI in them, but it wasn't the main driver of the movie. Whereas, and that's something that like I know Scorsese is making point at when he's talking about these films, and the fact about them not being cinema is the fact that they use a lot of they're mostly shooting on green screen with fake backgrounds and just different things like that. And I get that. I understand that, because truly, I mean, you might as well do as much as you can with practical effects, just like the movie Rabbit. It went back and watching that, they use a lot of practical effects in that movie. I mean, I don't even know if they used any CG in it. I'm sure they probably did somewhere, but there's just some of the things that they did so practical. And when you see a movie that uses practical effects, you can see it. You can notice it. It comes through in the film. It's just got, and it always has a different feel to it. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. That's something that is wholly great and pure about just like the filmmaking when it comes to practical effects. Is there's just a lot to be said for practical effects that CGI just cannot do. So I understand movies getting lower scores for that. There's now, is that ridiculous? Sure, because people still worked hard on doing that CGI work, on the film work, creating the films and stuff like that. People still worked hard doing that. Okay, that's not easy. I'll admit that that's not easy to go through and render all that CG work. It's not. And anybody that tells you that it is easy, it's probably somebody in the industry who does that kind of stuff and is really good at it. That's really bad. All I could say. Collie Holland says it's a pity that Black Widow got killed in Endgame though. It is a pity. They're obviously they're bringing her back, and that's the thing though. It is a pity, but for me at the same time, I think it's a good thing as well, because only because of everything that I've talked about here on this channel regarding the Marvel Cinematic Universe and it going forward, and kind of the spot that we're in right now. Because I've talked in the past about the spot that we're in right now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where I've made the prediction here on this channel where I think the next Captain Marvel movie is going to be Captain Marvel Civil War 2. And that's just because of everything that's come out leading up to this, what would be that point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it's also because of the comic books. A lot of stuff that led up to that was, for one, Jane Foster Thor. Her being Thor in the comic books actually happened at the same time where Assault on Pleasant Hill had happened, where she was Jane Foster Thor during that time. Assault on Pleasant Hill, when they had this it was essentially a prison for criminals that was all, it was like a virtual reality kind of prison where Kobik, who was the cosmic cube who had during some shield experiments had exploded and became a sentient being, a little girl, and she created this prison for them that was more a prison of their minds. They were living in this small town and all thought they were good guys, didn't think they were criminals or anything like that. It was pretty crazy. Baron Zemo was the guy who pretty much broke them out. But that led into Civil War II, in which Carol Danvers was using a mutant who eventually went on and ascended to become one of the big cosmic gods out there in the universe. But she was using it as a precog thing to stop crimes, which is essentially what Zola's algorithm was in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And it led on to that. And then it led on to Secret Empire, which Secret Empire is where Steve Rogers came through. He eventually became the Hydra Supreme. He basically became the ruler of America, and he was getting ready to take over the world. Well, during that time, Black Widow was actually killed by Steve Rogers himself. And then she was reborn in the Red Room with implanted memories. And that's where this picks up. That's why I think that it could be a good thing, because it all leads, like, all roads have led to some of the stuff that I would like to see come out. And there are different various reasons that I have for wanting to see some of those things on screen because of what Secret Empire did for Marvel Comics. Okay, in case you don't know what that did, I'm not going to really get into a whole lot, but basically Secret Empire, that whole storyline, pretty much brought things back to ground zero. It pretty much brought everything back in the Marvel Universe, the comics, back to normal, where you could find your normal Bruce Banner Hulk, where you could find all of your classic characters. Because what had happened was they took a lot of the classic characters and, how would you say, they modernized them. Yeah. They modernized all these classic characters, and it upset a lot of people. And even the Steve Rogers Hydra thing, Captain America being Hydra, upset a lot of people. Again, that might have been people who didn't read the whole story, don't know the whole story. That's what got me back into reading comic books. But like I said, to me, it all leads to their Secret Empire kind of reset everything. And hopefully, if that's where they're going, it could reset the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We could get some of these classic characters back. Anyway, that's just something I would like to see. But yeah, it is a pity that Black Widow got killed in Endgame. And, because like after reading this book, Black Widow became one of my favorite characters in the comic books. But also, like I said, they could easily bring her back. But again, we're not going to get the Black Widow that I want to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just as like we won't get the Punisher that I want to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they're too dark and gritty for something that Disney Studios wants to do. But if only they could. Because I was talking with somebody the other day here on one of the streams where it would be great to get like a Punisher, Black Widow, hell, maybe even Ghost Rider, a combo story. Maybe even toss some Moon Knight in there as well. Some people out there really seeking out some bloody justice, you know what I mean? And just going out there just bloody violent action movies like a Black Widow or a Punisher film needs to be. Probably even a Wolverine. Um, let's see what else we got here. Carrie Neves says, "Good morning. Thank you so much for being here, Carrie." Only Lonely Banter says, "Howdy, wacko." Oh, Darth Wacko. Okay, yeah, I said howdy. Bake the Snake says, "Really, the cancel culture is if you don't agree with the SJWs." Yeah, and that's true. That's very true. Bake the Snake says, "Harvey Weinstein was a total creep, but what he did was trade sexual favors for roles. Was it unethical? Yes. Was it wrong? Yes. Did he molest and rape anyone? No. These women could have easily said no. Well, as far as we know, he didn't rape or molest anybody. Let that be clear. As far as we know, he didn't. Some of these women, yeah, sure. I mean, let's talk about a Gwyneth Paltrow. Do we want to get that on there? You remember some of those? I mean, just all the stuff that come out about Harvey Weinstein, and then later we see, you take a look back at Gwyneth Paltrow and some of those photos she did with him. How her roles, she was pretty prominent in Weinstein flicks. You know what I mean? Makes you wonder. Now, and of course, they could easily say no, but that's still, like you said, I mean, unethical, yes. Was it wrong? Yeah. He used his position of power to get these sexual favors, and like you said, they could have easily said no. But how many victims are out there who were under the age? Who were underage when some of this stuff was going on? That's wrong. We don't know that because nobody's come forward. I mean, some of them probably have, and we probably just don't hear those stories. And so yeah, I mean, I agree they could have easily said no, but regardless, that doesn't change the fact that Harvey Weinstein is a total turd, and I can almost guarantee you, if he was doing that with older women and stuff like that, I can almost guarantee he was doing it with younger kids as well. And so, therefore, they cannot consent, and they were molested and would essentially be raped. In that case. So that's why I say I'm gonna hold off on my opinion on that, because I think he did, and I'm not saying that he's guilty of it. I'm not saying that, unless we know for sure. But again, that's just because somebody else hasn't come out and said anything. And that's the other thing about being a victim. If he did victimize any of these people who were younger at the time, who were minors at the time, they get in this sense in their head that even now there are probably still those victims out there, if there are any out there, who are sitting there like, man, I can't say anything now, like it's too late. Who am I to say? People are going to look at me differently, and all those things that go through a victim's head when it comes to these kinds of things. So just because we don't know about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I, for one, in my head, I'm going to believe that he did. That he did rape and molest, possibly rape and molest children who were younger. I'm gonna put him in that category. Just the same as, no different than when Lance Armstrong was going through his whole trial and all that stuff. Denying all the allegations that he was doping and all that stuff. And I still held firm to the fact that he did. It's obvious that Lance Armstrong did, and I completely got his back in saying, he's still one of the greatest riders of the Tour de France ever, one of the greatest winners of 7 tours. Yeah, the only person who ever won 7 tours. Yeah, sure, great. Lance Armstrong was that. But I, in fact, at the time, before he ever admitted it, I knew he was a doper. I knew he was doing stuff. It was obvious. It was obvious he was doing it. And I feel that same thing, my same feeling that I had towards Lance Armstrong and him being a doper. Not knowing, but knowing that he was doing it. I feel the same way about Harvey Weinstein. I don't know that he was out there molesting children or raping children or anything like that, but the mere fact, and it's not even guilt by association, it's guilt through the fact that, look at it, just look at the pattern, look at the history there. Same thing you got to do with Lance Armstrong. Look at the pattern, look at the history. It was the same thing. Did he? We don't know. Could he have? Yes. Do I think he did? Yeah, I do. Bake the Snake says, Hollywood doesn't care. They're all tied with Epstein. Exactly. He says that guy, the guy that accused Spacey was proven to be lying. Excuse me, one of the accusers. I was going to say, well, because the one of them was the kid who was in, God, what was it? Adventures in Babysitting, the actor with the red hair. He actually, he didn't. What he accused Spacey of was trying to get him to do something. He never said anything actually happened with Kevin Spacey, and I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head. The red-haired kid. He was in A Beautiful Mind. Actually, he's a good actor. He's a really good actor. But he never said Kevin Spacey actually did anything. He said he went to a party because he was in a movie with Kevin Spacey. He went to this after party at Kevin Spacey's place there in New York. You know, for whatever reason, his parents let him go there without supervision, and Kevin Spacey kind of jumped on top of him and was, you know, making moves on him, but nothing. He actually said nothing actually happened, but that it had led there. I mean, everything but happened. So yeah, I mean, and the thing is I'm sure Kevin Spacey has plenty of other people out there who have done things like go and watch the movie Swimming with Sharks. You know what I mean? Go watch that Swimming with Sharks. Like you watch it, go back and watch Swimming with Sharks, and you see that and everything that's happened. You're kind of like, man, was this life imitating art or art imitating life? You know, Swimming with Sharks, man. That was for one, that's a great movie, and Kevin Spacey's great in that movie, as well as everybody else that's in that movie. Was really great as well. But that's another one of those prime examples out there in the world. Fatal J says Second Street got that signed Black Widow graded, my dude. Oh, I need to. I was thinking about that. And I think at my local comic book shop, except for the first cover, the cover of issue number 1, I think they have all of the covers still there at my local comic book shop. So I'm gonna go pick those up. So I still have the complete collection of ones that aren't signed, and then the 3 that are. Brian the Observer says, and thank you, Brian, for being here. I don't think I've ever seen you here on one of my live streams. Thank you so much for being here. Says, I feel like Endgame was more like Fear itself and less like Infinity Gauntlet. But you know, I've never read Fear itself, but you could very well be right. I think Infinity Gauntlet is kind of really just kind of what at some point inspired the whole. I guess, you know, what are they calling it now? The Infinity Saga. I think it just kind of inspired that, and I don't necessarily know that they took anything from the Infinity Gauntlet story altogether. They just took elements of it, and we know that about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, anyways. That they take and they take and they cherry pick all these things out of the books to make them into the movies. Now, there's something actually that Young Rip has actually even said that I actually highly agree with. And you know, where I pretty much always had the stance of, you know, I don't care. The movies are different than the comic books. So like when it comes to me, like I don't want to see the comic books directly translated to the movies. I don't, because you could just go read the comic book and that's it, right? Well, one of the things Young Rippa has actually come out and said was, well, when it comes down to it, they could make Infinity Gauntlet directly from the book and put it on screen, and no one would know the difference, because most of the people who are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all these MCU stands and things like that, are normies and haven't ever read the comic books and would never know the difference. So it would be a completely original story to them, something new to them. The only people it wouldn't be is to geeks, not even geeks like myself, because I just got back into reading comic books a little over a year ago, you know, maybe about 18 months ago at this point. So like, but even for me, like I've read the Infinity Gauntlet story and Infinity War and all those kinds of things already anyway. So at this point, like it would be, but for most people not into reading comic books, it would be a new story. So, so for them to not make direct adaptations, like for me, it makes sense, because I don't want to see the direct adaptations. But if they were to make those direct adaptations, there's nothing wrong with that. They easily could, because most people don't read comic books. But yeah, you could be very well right that it's more like Fear itself. I need to go. As a matter of fact, I need to go back and read that story, because I got that Marvel Unlimited thing where I can go on there and read all their past books and everything. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'll take your word for that, Brian. Brian the Observer says, I have a story that would reset Marvel, but I'm saving it for my own comic universe. Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Brian the Observer says, Deadpool versus Predator. Hey, that would be pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty cool. It's something that could reset, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is what I'm guessing you're saying. Or are you talking about like Marvel Comics? Because because I mean, they like Marvel Comics kind of did that with their with the Secret Empire. It kind of reset a lot of things back, at least to like their more classic characters. Russell Wells, Benjamin the Fourth, thank you so much for being here. Says, good morning, brother. Sorry I missed your 500 follower live stream last night. Congrats. Thank you so much. And we've hit 600 already within 3 weeks of hitting 500. Man, that was actually so awesome. And again, I appreciate you all so much for just coming onto the channel and watching my videos and supporting me here in that way. Like I said, if you'd like, you can always follow. There's some links down in the description where you can become a Patreon supporter here for as little as $1 a month and support the content that is coming out on this channel. Or you can even send direct donations through Streamlabs. Any of those funds are greatly appreciated. I do greatly appreciate that. And we're almost to the point, with the help of my awesome Patreon supporters, where I'm going to be getting a bigger green screen. I just got this one that's, like the span of my arm length, not very big, so I can't do a whole lot with it. I'm going to get this one that's big enough to probably fit this whole back wall behind me. That'll be big enough where I can, it'll fit that whole thing, so I can do a lot more with green screen, because as it stands now, I've got to position the camera right. I've got to do all these things right to get everything to work out right, and I'll be able to take that and do a little more with that. But again, all of these awesome Patreon supporters that you see right here on the screen have been very awesome. I do appreciate all your support. We got people like Tara, Russell, Carrie, Drunk 3PO, Tracy, Michelle P, Marty McFly Sr., and Joseph. Thank you all so much for being Patreon supporters. I do greatly appreciate it. Even Alpha Proto has come in and donated some money directly through Streamlabs. So yeah. Let's see. Baked into Snake says, "Yep, Jennifer Lawrence too." Oh yeah, Jennifer. Yeah. She goes. He says, "I'm not defending Weinstein, just pointing it out." Oh yeah. No, I don't think anybody could defend Weinstein. To be honest with you, I mean, you already said. I mean, he's a sicko. That's a given. Baked to Snake says, "There was a blonde-haired guy that was in Road Trip. The jealous guy with the lazy eye that said something happened when he was a child actor. That might be who you're talking about." No, and I think aggressively says it right here was Anthony Rapp, but. I won't, like, the position everything's been in with Weinstein, I won't doubt in the slightest bit that he did. But again, I'm not accusing him neither. I just can't doubt it when it comes down to it. Aggressively Relaxing says, "Speaking of Kevin Spacey, Star Trek Online just released the new episode featuring Anthony Rapp, and it's awesome." Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and that is the actor I'm thinking of, right? Anthony Rapp with the red hair. Yeah, and we got Baked the Snake and Aggressively here. Brian the Observer says, Infinity Gauntlet was more of a Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer story. At the time, Silver Surfer was licensed by Fox. Right, exactly, yeah. Totally. And that's kind of what I thought too, because it was really Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer that had a lot more to do with what they were doing at the time to help stop everything that was going on in the Infinity Gauntlet story. Yeah, okay, yeah, in Marvel Comics. He says it would be a hard reboot. Yeah, something that definitely needs to happen at some point. Oh, Den of Nerds is here. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And if you guys know, in case you guys don't know, the Den of Nerds is one of my favorite channels. You guys know. I've one of my favorite channels out there, because Josh over there at the Den of Nerds, for one, he works hard on doing what they do with their content. They've grown their channel so significantly, but also over there at the Den of Nerds, they do the hard work that more people should do. Josh over there, he gets down in the muck of all this clickbait trash that's out there on the internet. Going through all these articles, going through the Reddit posts, going through 4chan, going through all of YouTube and all this stuff to he's knee deep in the muck, you know what I mean? Going through all this stuff to sift through it and present it in a digestible way, because it's probably one of the only channels that I could watch and not be completely disgusted by what they're saying, because they do such a good job over there. He says, "Good energy in here. Congrats to Trinity on 600 plus subs. This guy is going places." And thank you for that, Den of Nerds. I do greatly appreciate that and appreciate you being here on the show. And one of these days we'll get together and we'll have Josh come here on the show. I'm sure. It's just, I know he's a really busy man as well as I am, and he's out on the East Coast. I'm here on the West Coast. Times always seem to, time is the hardest thing for a lot of us to get together and make content together and do these collaborations. So I know they Den of Nerds recently did a live stream with Jason Ward from Making Star Wars, and they did that, and that was a hard thing for them to get together as well for the same reasons, because Den of Nerds are based over there out on the East Coast, where like me and even like Jason Ward is out here on the West Coast. So sometimes like 3 hours doesn't sound like a huge difference, but when you're trying to do something and get people together to do stuff, it's really kind of a big gap. It's really kind of a big gap to get there and to get things moving. Russell says Trent is for sure doing his thing. Yeah, man. Yeah, and I again, I do my best. That's all I can do is do my best to provide the best content that I can, and present my theories, my own thoughts and things on these when it comes to these movies, comic books, and music and things like that. I just do my best. I don't even try my best, because do or do not, there is no try, right? Um, Lonely Bench says, "Hey, the Den of Nerds done pulled up." Yes, they did, man. Awesome, awesome, man. I've been lucky. Like I said, I've been lucky, and I've been blessed to come across a bunch of awesome people just throughout my whole lifetime. Not just since I started here on YouTube. I've been blessed to come across and interact with some great creators here, like the Den of Nerds. Josh over there at the Den of Nerds. Young Ripa has been awesome. Just like some of these people with some of these bigger channels, made contact with War Stew and everything, and kind of had a friendship with him. I don't know. Lately, he's seemed kind of salty. He seemed a little upset at me. The other day, I made a post on Twitter, just being funny, and like he got all offended by it, man. Like he was all upset, and he ended up messaging me on Instagram, and he's like, dude, like all this stuff. I'm like, bro, like I posted something as a joke. It was a joke, dude. Like, why are you being so serious, man? Like, and I told him, like, I don't share, like, because it was on Twitter. I'm like, I don't share stuff from channels and people that I think are garbage. I just don't do that. But, like, I don't know, man. Like, people, like I said, I was saying earlier, people get egos. They get, think they're too good or too big or whatnot. They take themselves too serious or whatnot. Hey guys, that's not me, man. I'm just me. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna fake the funk for anybody. You know what I mean? And thank you guys for that, man. I really appreciate it. Um, I do appreciate everybody that comes here to watch my videos and watch me flap my gums about just all this silliness out there in the world. Aggressively Relaxing says Marvel is reorganizing its comic continuity right now. Feige is now in charge of comics. The year 2020 coming up, and this X-Men story gives the ability to pick and choose what is in continuity. And yeah, I agree with that. Aggressively Relaxing, and at the same time, I'm not so sure that that's a good thing. Kevin Feige being in charge of all of that. Because, the one thing I don't want to see is the Marvel Cinematic Universe affect the comic books. I think the comic books need to stay a totally separate thing from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the comics altogether. They need to stay split. Now, if they are going to tie them together, what I think they need to do is they need to make a series, a very specific series, like they have with the Prelude comic books going forward. Like, if you're gonna tie the comics into it, have a certain branch of the comics do that. Have like the MCU version of these characters, not have the Amazing Spider-Man all of a sudden be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all these things. Let the history stay there and stand on its own, and then make new series. Get rid of some of the series that are out there, and then reintroduce these things. As it's already affected Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy characters in the comics, they're pretty much now a mere reflection of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But I definitely don't think it's a good thing. I think the two universes need to stay separate. For one, but that's just me, and certainly there's not going to ever be any shortage of stories that the Marvel Cinematic Universe can pull from the comics to begin to make movies from. Let alone the Marvel Cinematic Universe can come up with their own unique stories. But if they did the mirror reflection thing where the comics become the movies, then at some point, even with all the stories that they have to pull from, at some point, then they're just regurgitating their own thing, their own universe. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. But yeah, it's really kind of crazy with the comic continuity right now, because they are doing a bunch of things out there in just even in the comic landscape that. I don't know. I mean, it's probably going to eventually affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Bake the Snake says, "Yep, Anthony Rapp. That's who I was talking about. They changed their hair color for roles." Oh yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, and yeah, I don't know. Is he blonde? I don't know, but yeah, I know. Typically, he's usually a redhead in most of his movies. But yeah, yeah. And Anthony Rapp only told of a situation that had happened with Kevin Spacey. He never said anything actually happened. He just said that he was put in a tough situation where something was getting ready to happen. So that's what his whole thing was. But of course, the media is going to take that and blow it out of proportion, and rightfully so, because if Kevin Spacey is going to do that to a minor, obviously he was willing to take it further at the same time. You know what I mean? So I mean, there is that. There is that. Dead Nerd says, "Thanks, brother. Means a lot." No, I mean, thank you. Darth Wacko says, "Dead Nerds is a cool channel." Yeah, like I said, they're one of my favorites. Like for all the geeky nerdy news, that's where I go to nowadays. I don't even get on the internet and look at any of that stuff anymore. These all these just clickbaity websites out there with the provocative headlines, just meant to get your clicks. I just don't do it. For one, because most of these websites and everything, they get money when you click on their website, you know what I mean, from advertisers and stuff, and that's not what I want to support. I don't even share this stuff on my personal Twitter and all that stuff. When all these stories come out from, like, we got this covered and all these different ones out there who are out there, bounding into comics or any of these other, these clickbaity websites. I don't share this stuff. I don't even go to their websites and click anymore. I wait for Josh to go through and sift through the news to bring that to me, because like I said, he's good at it and he's got the stomach for it, man. I don't have the stomach for this stuff, because all it makes me want to do is scream. It just makes me want to scream, right? And you guys have seen me do that plenty here on the channel. Longbox Diving, what's up? How you doing this morning? Russell Wells Benjamin says, both the Den of Nerds and Second Street report with a backbone and do their best to not divulge into the clickbait culture we are living in. The honest journalism is appreciated and rare here on YouTube. Yeah, it is. And you know what? I know Josh over there at the Den, he's got something that he's been cooking up with the Gray Order and trying to get some things in line here moving forward. And it basically has to do with that, like the whole clickbait thing. Like, for one, clickbait is a necessary evil. It's something we've all got to do if you're a YouTube content creator. You just have to give in to the clickbaiting. But that doesn't mean that you have to do bad clickbait, or you're trying to fool people, or you're just trying to get hate clicks, or that you have to be dishonest. Because I've learned through Josh something, just like a harsh truth that I knew somewhat to be true anyway, but some of the responses he got with some of the stuff he's trying to do just like really floored me. That we got creators out there who put their own backs against the wall, in thinking that they can't make a certain kind of content because their audience won't understand or won't watch or will unsubscribe. Like, for one, these people aren't journalists in the first place. But the thing is like, you might be surprised. I think everybody would be surprised. All these creators would be surprised if they were just honest with their viewers and everything about what they thought. People like honesty. People enjoy honesty, no matter whether they like the honesty or not. People enjoy that. You know why? Because being honest, for me, the one thing it shows is integrity. You have integrity, and that's something that a whole lot of these places don't have. They just don't have that integrity there. And that's, like I said, again, that's one thing that absolutely just makes me sick, and that's why I can't sift through all of the garbage and the nonsense that Josh and the Den of Nerds do over there. Like I said, they do great work, and they are actually part of my huge inspiration for the things that I do here on this channel. And another one of my favorite channels is New Rockstars, just because Eric Voss over there, he's a huge nerd, just like many of us, and he's a geek, and he does a lot of presenting his own theories there on their channel, and they've finally expanded into doing a lot more stuff, and they're just a good channel as well. Russell says, shout out to you both 100%. Dinner Nerd says, thanks for the love. About to go record my show. Keep on keeping on, boys. Well, I can't wait to see the show. Like I said, you guys know I am a huge supporter of the Den of Nerds. You guys should be too. Go check them out. They do some absolutely great content over there at the Den of Nerds, and I can't wait to see the video today, Josh. Waiting for it. I wait every day, man. And on those days when you take off and you don't put a video out, I'm sitting there like, what's going on there? Like, I remember one time the Den of Nerds actually even said in their show the day before, like, there's not going to be a show tomorrow because we're working on this or that. I can't remember what it was. It was like, but there's not going to be a show on Wednesday. And I remember Wednesday coming around, and I'm sitting there in the middle of the afternoon. I'm like, hey, man, where's my video? Where's my Den of Nerds video? I'm like, hey, what the hell? And then I was like, oh, man. I was like, I forgot. I remembered. He said they're not doing a video today. And then I was like, all right. I'll calm down. I didn't get my fix today, and that's okay. But yeah, like I said, guys, go check out Den of Nerds. Absolutely great channel. Brian the Observer says they need a solid MCU imprint. Remember the Ultimate Universe? The DC has Earth too. Yeah, and that's something they should do. I think you're right there, Brian. I think you're absolutely right. They should have a book, a series, maybe just one series, maybe a two title, maybe I'll give them a two title series to tie in to all the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where they can do all these different crazy things. And the smart thing for them to do with that would be to put, and they don't have to do a whole lot, but have little underlying stories or little nuggets that they put in there that pertain to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to make it a tie-in and make it something that's not so important that you have to read it to be into these movies, but also maybe something important enough that if you're watching the movies that you want to go read it. But certainly never phase out what they're doing in their original, with their original titles in the first place. What they've always done, they can't get rid of that. That's the one thing I think they just can't do. But yeah, you're right. DC, even like with the Earth too. Yeah, certainly. Russell Wells Benjamin says, "Peace, brother. Hashtag the Great Order." Indeed. Drop that in the comments below. Hashtag Great Order. Angelus Draven, good afternoon. Afternoon, man. You must be out there on the East Coast, or a little bit more east of that, man. It's morning time still here for me, man. But thank you so much for being here, Angelus Draven. Thank you so much for being here. Definitely appreciate that. Russell Wells Benjamin says, "Integrity." Now, I haven't watched the new season of South Park, but I do know that what you're talking about there is South Park. I need to go watch that. I just haven't taken the time to. Integrity. Angelus Draven says, "Be truthful to yourself and your viewers, and they will watch." And that's how I feel. But there are some huge creators out there. I mean, I'm talking some of the creators with the biggest platforms who are out there lying and perpetuating lies, essentially perpetuating this problem that, while it is a problem, it's not as big as everybody is making it seem like. And the easiest thing to say with that would be like with the Star Wars universe. We know that there's problems going on within Star Wars at Disney and all those. It's obvious. It's obvious there is problems. It's completely undeniable. It is undeniable. I don't care who you are. I don't care whether you're a Reylo shipper or whether you're a fandom menacer. It's obvious that there is a problem over there at Disney with the Star Wars properties and everything like that. But there's a lot of people out there making it bigger than it is, making it seem bigger than it is, and things like that, which in itself isn't always necessarily bad, because at the same time, sometimes movements like that, calling out some of this bad stuff, is what will bring about change. But again, like I've said here on my channel a lot of times, is you've got to go about it the right way. These companies aren't going to listen to people who are red in the face and foaming at the mouth. You got to write them, whether that's write them letters, send them emails, and being a rational person. Nobody wants to listen to an irrational person. When I used to work in this big box retailer, the world's largest retailer, as a matter of fact, when I worked there, I dealt with people. I'd go to the service desk and deal with these people. Get called up there, and people are just sitting out there yelling and yelling and yelling, and I'm just sitting there like, man, I'm not listening to a word you're saying because you being an a-hole, man. But I'm gonna act like I'm listening to you. But in my head, I'm just sitting there. I'm zoned out. I'm not even really hearing what most of this person is saying. I mean, I'm listening to the problem and all that stuff. But then, ultimately, what would happen is this person who's so upset about some service they got in the store, something that happened in the store, they get done, yelling in my face, calling me MFer and all these different things, and down talking our people at the service desk and all these kinds of things. They get done, I'd be like, I'm sorry that happened to you. What could we do for you? What would you like me to do about it? And they would ultimately just be like, well, that's really it. I just wanted somebody to know, and I just wanted, basically they just wanted to get off their chest and let somebody know about their experience, or there's something bad that happened, and that's it, and that's fine. But to me, it would have been a lot easier, even for the person at the service desk. They could have helped you. They could have done exactly what I did with you if you just came up there and just said, hey, I was back there in sporting goods department, so and so. It took me like 10 minutes to get service there, to get something out of the gun lockup. I needed to get some ammo, and it took too long. It was ridiculous, and the person over there was rude to me. And then they said that they couldn't actually run the register and all. Like, But instead, you come up there and you just start screaming and yelling at the person, people at the service desk, and you know what I mean. Like they make the problem bigger than it is. I mean, and not that that's not a problem, but you just go about it the right way. Because other than that, you're getting people like me up there, and I'm just sitting there like, in my head, like, yeah, are you almost done yet? I know what's gonna happen here. You know what I mean? Like I said, be sane and rational. Be a sane and rational individual. That's how you get the results. That's how you get the results. And being truthful and honest. And that's the thing is not perpetuating problems. I don't want to perpetuate problems. Like I could tell you about something that I brought up that a lot of people probably have a problem with, and that's the fact that and people, like I said, I've already had people tell me that I'm crazy. That Victoria Alonso will soon be doing what Kevin Feige does for Marvel Studios and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The writing is really on the wall, and I called this way over a month ago that that's what's going to be happening. That's what's going to be happening, and don't forget, folks. And I'm not even trying to brag or anything, but don't forget you heard it here first, okay? I'm telling you, soon Victoria Alonso is going to be in charge of Marvel Studios and everything that's going on over there. That's not to say that Kevin Feige isn't still going to be like the president or whatever of Marvel Studios. It's to say that he's taking on more responsibilities, so he's going to have people under him who are more. That's just how. That's in case you guys don't know. That's how the leadership and process works. Not even leadership. That's how the management process works. Is you're on top. You got to have people underneath you that you trust. That were your go-to people that you can trust doing this. Like like at this point, Marvel Cinematic Universe is rolling to a point where Kevin Feige don't have to keep an eye on Victoria Alonso or every single one of these movies individual and be there every single time that they're shooting. It's just he looks to Victoria Alonso and says, "Look, I already know you know my expectations, and I know that you can live up to them. I'm gonna leave you be with this while you develop that, and I'm gonna go over here and work on this because I know I can trust you." That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. And like I said, I just know that because I know how that structure works. I've been in the corporate structure. It's no different. Running like what Kevin doing what he's doing is no different than what Kevin Feige is doing is no different than what I did when I was working at this big box retailer. I mean, you got to manage people, these personalities. You got to get your people that you rely on, and once you got them there, you can walk away and do something. Put your attention onto something else, improving something else, while you can trust this person to improve this over here. Now, however, you still do have to step over here with this person and make sure that everything's going how you want to, and get with the people that are even under this person. Be like, hey, okay, like here, this is great what you're doing. They're not paying attention to this, but here's what you got to, making all those little micro adjustments. You don't have to sit there and micromanage everything. You just have to go back there and make sure that the managing is happening. Russell Wells Benjamin says New Rockstars is dope. Eric does go off on the deep end every once in a while, but it's hard when not it's hard not to when dealing in Marvel theories. Yeah, it absolutely is. And plus, like he's a super nerd as well. And he's into that stuff, so he's somebody that you could count on being into a lot of these things when he presents his theories. Now, I actually got lucky enough to I met Eric Voss down in Hollywood. He does that show that they were doing. I'm not sure if they're still doing that. It was like the first Friday of every month down at the theater that they were doing. He did, God, what was that show he did? It was called The Infinity, what was it called? Infinity Fan. I think it was called Infinity Fan. And it was a really good little stage, just like little improv stage show. Still got the little wristband from it and everything. It was a pretty good time. But yeah, definitely a talented dude. Brian the Observer says they only release MCU tie-ins when a movie comes out. It would be a good way of getting new customers. Right? Yeah, and like those MCU tie-ins, like a lot of them, I really like. And in some of them, they actually reveal things that have to do with the movies that just little nuggets here and there. Like for me, the most telling one was the Ant-Man prelude, but there was also some stuff in the Doctor Strange prelude. There was I think there was two preludes for Doctor Strange, and one of them told more the story of oh man, why can't I remember his name all of a sudden? The bad guy, well, one of the, I guess basically the main bad guy in Doctor Strange. Man, I can't even remember the guy's name all of a sudden who played him all of a sudden. Mads Mikkelsen, who played Caecilius. There was a story about Caecilius in one of the Doctor Strange preludes that had a lot to do with his character and why he became who he was, and why he ended up going to the Ancient One and all those kinds of things. So some of them are really good stories. Like even the Guardians of the Galaxy one. There's one about the Guardians of the Galaxy where it told why Peter Quill basically went to Morag at that time to get to get the purple stone. There was a very specific reason, and that's because the planet of Morag is normally covered in water, but once every 300 years the water descends, the tides descend, and that gained him access into that temple where he went and got the orb. But yeah, I mean, they certainly should do that. Because like I said, that was something that kind of got me back into reading again. Was like I was watching the movies. And I'm like, well, we're in between movies here, man, and I need something to, So I headed out to my local comic book shop as well as Instagram. My local comic book shop was promoting on Instagram, and I went and they sucked me in. They reeled me in with some of their posts. Russell Wells Benjamin says the new season is hilarious. Glad you caught the reference. Yeah, yeah. I need to check it out, man. I love South Park, man. Great stuff. Longbox Diving says you get more with honey than vinegar. It's very true, but you know what? Vinegar gets a lot of people watching too. People love them hate clicks. You know what I mean? They love to hate click on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. Angelus Draven says, agreed, I worked retail and I'm more likely to listen to someone who is rational than someone who isn't. Right? Exactly. Which is, I mean, kind of some of the problem with some of the things going on out there. Aggressively says, I am working on my clickbait mad at Star Wars show right now. And I can't wait to see it. Aggressively relaxing. I seen you just dropped a new spam caller video, and I need to go and watch that. Because those things are absolutely hilarious. He says, I'm working on my clickbait mad at Star Wars show right now, except it's set in 1982. This should be good. It's rumored Harrison Ford is not returning for a third movie because his coke fueled romp with Leia turned sour. Yes, okay, aggressively relaxing. You already got me, man. You already know I'm gonna watch anyway, but you got me now. Angelus Draven says, "Yeah, definitely signs of how things have been going. One of the reasons I started tuning into you and Young Ripper 59 is the rationale you two have. Yeah, and again, like." Young Whipper 59 is somebody who, I highly respect his work, his opinions, and what he does as well. But the thing is like his content, he's honest in his opinions and everything, his breakdowns and stuff. He's honest. He don't lie about anything. Now, a lot of people don't like him for that, and that's perfectly fine. I know aggressively relaxing here is not a fan of Young Ripper 59, and that's all good. You don't have to be, and I certainly don't hold it against anybody who don't. I mean, certainly not everybody is everybody's cup of tea out there. We all have our favorite content creators and why we watch certain content. Some people watch certain content because they don't like people and they want to hear what these other people have to say. I'm one of those people too. I don't mind hearing other people's opposing opinions. There's just some people who I don't like to hear from as much. When it comes to their opinions and things, like, I watched one of their videos and I pretty much know all the arguments they're going to make and what the content of pretty much every single one of their videos is. So there's no reason for me to go follow that particular person when I can just, occasionally seek them out and see what they have to say. Like, we still, even people that I don't agree with, I still limit how much I'm exposed to it. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I know I don't like this person. I don't follow them. I occasionally go watch their videos. So, I mean, whether we agree or not, we still limit our exposure to them. Yet we still go and watch what they do, and what they say. And for me, it's because when I want to say something and be knowledgeable about something, I still need that input from other people who don't agree with me or who don't feel the same as me or have opposite opinions of me and things like that. Like, I've got to take it all in. I've got to take it all in order to really form my opinions even more, to solidify them more, because I know how I feel about something. But does what I see and how I feel, does anybody out there feel the same? What's everybody else's feel? Because I've seen people who agree with me on some things who they agree, but for different reasons and things like that. So I'm like, that's an interesting case study. You know what I mean? Case in point, one of the things for me is like Fat Thor. I did a whole video about the Fat Thor not too long ago, some months ago. It's actually one of my favorite videos that I've done, breaking down Thor from Avengers Endgame and his whole character arc and how it's gone so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how I seen Fat Thor and I'm like, dude, like, I get it. Like, I get it. I get the whole Fat Thor thing and why he is the way he is, why he done the things he done and all those things. Like, I totally understood why the Russos did what they did with him in Avengers Endgame. But not everybody does. And even some people that somewhat get it still don't even agree with that. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Angela's Draven says Dormammu. No, it wasn't Dormammu. Caecilius. Russell Wells Benjamin says, I'm going to make a compilation video just of you laughing, bro. You've got a wide variety of laughter. Yeah, I do. There's varying degrees of laughter for sure. That's great. I can't wait. I can't wait to see that compilation video. Angela Draven says, "Seeing different opinions gives perspective," and it does. And that's the bad thing, we see out there these days with all like the cancel culture and all these people out there. Especially, it's really prominent on Twitter. People blocking people. Like me, like I don't block anybody. Like on Facebook, I don't even block people. Like even on Facebook, like I don't block people. I just unfriend them because it's easy enough to do that there. But on Twitter, unless you block somebody, you're still going to see their stuff scrolling across your feed and everything. But even those people, like I don't block people, and we could see that you go on Twitter, people just automatically just shut people out. They just block them. And it's like, that does nothing good for you. I mean, that doesn't help you at all. I mean, if it's just somebody who's annoying, you don't agree with them, that's fine. But if it's over, you're blocking them just because, like if you're like say you're one of the people, say you're a fan of Menacer and you're just blocking Raylo shippers just because you don't like them because they're trying to ship Raylo, Kylo Ren and Ray. I mean that's just wrong. I mean just because you have differing opinions on the movie, that's just wrong. Now if they're just annoying to you, fine, I get that, but like people are just out there going and blocking people for their opinions or because, maybe one of these days, one of these people that you disagree with has a take that you might agree with. You know what I mean? Just like I was saying about Lee Williams at the beginning of the show here. She wrote this chastity book that, she's done a lot of writing that I don't like. I just know that I don't like her writing. So I've kind of singled her out as somebody when she got a book out. I'm going to go read it so I can do a review on it and see in the hopes that she writes something one of these days that I will like, which actually happened in Chastity issue 2. Like I read Chastity issue 2 and I was like, hey, this is actually a pretty decent story. A couple little things in it that I didn't like, but it wasn't not that I didn't like. It's just that it's not that I didn't like them. It's just they were like, okay, well this is that. So why you don't even need to say this because of that. But it just some little silliness, but for the most part I don't like her writing, and she finally did a book that I enjoyed. And that's why I just don't block somebody. That's why I don't just shut them out or anything like that, because some of these days, like I guess it kind of goes along with the same story. Remember, I'm not sure if you grew up in the 80s and 90s like I did, but remember those commercials with the crash test dummies, and at the very end it says, you can learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt. Well, that's what you're here for, folks, because you can learn a lot from a dummy. You can, man. Let's see. Russell Wells Benjamin says, Angelos Draven, different opinions defines perspective. Yeah, it does. LB says, yeah, different opinions is needed. Don't be lame and throw a fit because you don't agree with somebody's opinion. Agreed. I mean that's the whole point. I mean we got to hear people's varying degrees of opinion, and don't be upset because somebody disagrees with you. I feel like something's going on here a little too on the nose for this story that I'm talking about right now here, but oh yeah. I shouldn't have took a drink. I shouldn't have took a drink, man. I'm gonna choke on my stuff here. Facebook. Angels Draven says Facebook I unfollow so I don't. Facebook I unfollow so I don't see their posts. Right. Brian the Observer. I only block those that block me or don't leave me alone. And that comes with somebody being annoying. Somebody's just being annoying. Yeah, just block them, And you can even just block them for a little while. Eventually, they'll realize they got blocked and leave you alone. You could always go back there and unblock them. Because like I said, maybe occasionally that this one person might say something that you actually agree with. Like I said, I see people losing friends and blocking each other and deleting each other on Facebook and all that stuff, like, over politics. Over politics. Like, the stupidest thing. And I'm not talking just like, oh, we're friends. Like, no, like, childhood friends. Like, people have been friends since childhood. You know what I mean? Calm down, guys. Calm down, guys. That's all I gotta say. And that's all I'm gonna say. Is calm down, guys. Just calm down. It's okay. It's okay. Guys, we don't need to double Dutch rudder here each other or anything, but come on. Come on. Come on, guys. 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 Aggressively relaxing says, I'm definitely a fan of Ripa when he is talking specifics on comics he read. I just make fun of him when he shows up on when he shows up to his stream like it's a shift at a job he doesn't like. That's fun. That's funny. Aggressively relaxed. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, man. Yeah, and but I also get that too, because sometimes, and I know what you're saying there, because sometimes I've seen some of the streams, like he's talking about something like man, I don't want to have to talk about this because it's just utter silliness. Shouldn't have to talk about this, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. Yeah, yeah. So Angel Straven says exactly, Russell. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and skip over these last couple of comments. Guys, come on, man. Can't we all just come on. Some people move on, but not us. Guys, stop, man. You guys are both you dudes are both cool dudes, man. And I love you guys both to death. It's okay. You don't have to love each other, though. I'm not saying that. I don't expect that neither. But it's okay, guys. It's okay. It's okay. That's all I'm gonna say, guys. It's okay. I'm gonna leave on that note. Yeah, it's okay, guys. And we've gone for an hour and a half, man. Can I ever keep this dang show to 1 hour? I swear I can't keep this morning show to 1 hour anymore. Anyway. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. I started off talking about movies, and we went everywhere, and we still rounded up back at comic books. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy how that happens. But thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel today. Now, make sure that you stay tuned here over the week. I am going to be releasing a video about what we're going to be doing at my 1-year celebration. I am going to be doing a giveaway for my favorite comic book of the year, and that is Impact Theory's Neon Future. It recently came out on trade paperback, Volume 1 did. I am going to be giving away a copy of that for my 1-year anniversary, and probably giving away a couple of extra prizes as well. So please make sure you stay tuned for that. Also, I will be dropping some videos, some reviews coming up, probably starting tomorrow night on some of the bigger books getting ready to come out there in the Marvel world, because I know there's a couple getting ready to come out. People are really going to be interested in as far as stories spinning out of the Jonathan Hickman universe of X-Men. I believe Marauders is getting ready to release this week, so look forward to that review, probably coming tomorrow around midnight Eastern time. Be looking out for that. My local comic book shop has been absolutely 100% awesome in supporting me here on the channel, and helping me get some reviews and things like that out, and I do greatly appreciate them, and I do greatly appreciate you guys coming to watch any of those. I actually just did a video, and I've got another one getting ready to come out from when we went to Comic-Con, not this past weekend, but the last weekend on October 12th. I've got a video getting ready to come out for that. I just did one yesterday where I did an unboxing of the mystery box I pulled off from Aftershock Comics while I was there. I've also got some other reviews that I've got to get ready to be getting ready to come out. So again, make sure that you're subscribed and click that little bell so you get notifications anytime that I've uploaded new content. And if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you don't, you can give it a thumbs down. It's all good. I don't take nothing like that personally. But most importantly, make sure that you share it with a friend and invite them to come hang out with us here on the Second Street Marvel. You all have a very good day. Have a great rest of your week. Get out and support your local comic book shop. Get out to your local theater and watch some awesome movies. And we'll see you in the next video. Later. Oh man, come on, this thing's supposed to change. What's going on here, man? Ah!